and it's time for another British Guy Reviews American Beer. And today, well, is it American beer? Well, it's Central American beer. Today we are comparing Mexican light lagers. Now, this is not a style of beer that I know much about. It's not a style of beer that I've drunk much of over the years, except to say I've probably had, back in the UK, I've probably had a few Coronas with a big chunk of lime wedged in the top of the bottle. And I think I've had, a few years ago, I might have had a glass of Dos Equis back in Texas. But the others, I don't think I've ever had. So today it's going to be comparing, and I'm sorry if I pronounce these names wrong. So we are comparing Estrella, Jalisco, Pacifico, Modelo, Tecate Original, Corona, and Dos Equis. Now, again, this is not about, well, it's purely about which do I like best. And if I was going to sit in the garden on a hot day and crack open a Mexican lager, which one would I go for? Now, I've done this blind. My assistant has very well pre-poured my beers for me. So I do have, numbered from 1 to 6, I have my beers already poured, but I don't know in which order they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at them, give them a bit of a smell, and then try to rank what I have in front of me in order from 1 to 6. So I can just about, well, okay, numbers. What I might do actually is I'm going to order these because I can't see the numbers from the back. So number 1 is going to be on the left as you're looking. That's number 2. Where's my number 3? Right here. 4, 5, and 6. And before I post the video, I will be having a look at the list and seeing what everything is. So as I am smelling and tasting these beers, I will put up in the corner somewhere which beer it is that I am having a smell or taste of. So straight off the bat, let's have a look at these. I would say, I mean, they're all relatively similar in color, except number 3 is a little bit darker than the rest. Number 2, probably a little bit lighter. Just in terms of the way they look from a nice head perspective. They've all been poured a few minutes ago, so the heads have pretty much gone away. But I would say that numbers 1, 2, and 4 are probably the best looking beers in the glass. And number 4 has a little bit of lacing around there. So yeah, that would be an indication for me that it might be a little bit better than the others. Number 5, obviously, when it poured, it was pretty vigorous and foamed up a little bit. So, and it's left a lot of kind of crud around the glass as it's settled down. So that's the least attractive looking beer. But other than that, I don't even know really what I'm looking at this point. 6 very similar beers, except for number 3, probably a little bit darker than the rest. So let's have a smell. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a muted style of beer, so you get a little bit of kind of maize, like corn, a little bit of sweetness, not much hop aroma. Fairly clean on number 1. Number 2, that's got more of a kind of citrusy hop aroma about it. Doesn't smell quite as sweet as number 1. Number 3, I don't smell a lot. There's a little bit of a cardboard aroma about number 3. A little bit of kind of maybe a little bit of lemony hop there as well. Number 4. Ay, ay, ay. That's skunk. That's overwhelmingly the aroma I get from number 4. Number 5. That's got some kind of, that's sweet. Something a little bit not right about number 5. Yeah, they've all got that kind of grainy and mazy sweetness about them, except for number 4, which, yeah, number 4 is just unpleasant. And number 6, again, you get a little bit of a kind of, I think off number 6 and number 1, I got a little bit of, yeah, kind of alcohol aroma as well. What I will point out as I go on, because I pointed out that one of them smelled skunked, number 4, is that the packaging kind of varies between these beers. So you've got Dos Equis in a green bottle, not always the best in terms of resisting sunlight and skunk. Tecate and Pacifico in a brown bottle, much better way to package your beer, obviously. Modelo and Corona are in clear bottles, which are obviously directly impacted by sunlight. And then the Jalisco in a can. So probably I would expect, in terms of retaining their quality, I would expect the can and the 2 brown bottles, followed by the green bottle and then the 2 clear bottles. Only one way to find out which I like the best. Let's dive in and see what we get. So number 1, got a little bit of a, maybe a little bit of a metallic taste to it. But overwhelmingly it's that corn grainy sweetness. Number 2, that's a much more pleasant beer. Not as sweet. Still got that. It's got that little bit of corn, but it's got a nice little kick of bitterness on the back end. So I'm going to start. Otherwise, I'm going to be here all day. I'm going to start trying to put beers in order as I go here. Number 3. Get a little bit more. I think the darker beer probably has a little bit of darker malt in there. I think there's a little bit of a kind of toffee flavor. It's going to be very difficult to separate these beers, honestly. I'm still having, I'm number 2 is sitting out there. Number 1 and number 3, I'm going to have to come back to. Number 4, yeah. This is, I mean, I say it's skunked. It's got a pretty unpleasant aroma. Tastes of cardboard. The only thing that's kind of redeeming that beer is that it's got quite a nice mouthfeel about it. Actually, if you when you rock that beer about, you can see how the head kind of chases up the side of the glass. It's got quite a nice creamy mouthfeel actually. But that's the and but it's sweet. It's sweet and cardboard. Um, Number 5. Get some green apple in that. And some solvent. Bit of solvent, bit of green apple. Not particularly pleasant. Number 6. That's got a bit of astringency on the back end. It's kind of that little bit kind of unpleasant bitterness, drying bitterness. Of course, I'm going to have to go in again because the order in which I drink them is going to probably impact just my picking up the variances between the beers as I go. So I'm just going to double check that I think that number 2 is number 1. That smells like a pretty good beer. Yeah, I kind of like that. I'd number 2 I would happily drink. I'm going to come back to these 3 at the end. I'm just going to double check my logic on number 5. Yeah, number 5 is that one that's got that little bit of green apple, I think. Is it number 5? And these 2 are, for different reasons, are close. Number 4, number four's out of the race. I think where I'm at the moment is number 2 is the best beer. I've got number 1 and number 3, which I will go back and have a taste of. It's so difficult to pick kind of flavors out of these beers because they're all very much variations of the same. One's got a little bit of kind of a bready sweetness to it. It's not unpleasant at all. It just lacks any sense of bitterness, which I kind of want at the end. So it doesn't clean up that well. It's kind of leaves a little bit of it leaves that kind of corn flavor. Number 3 has a touch of astringency on the finish. So I'm gonna put, at the moment I'm at 2, 1, 3. And then I think I'm choosing between 6 and 5. That's more astringent. And 3. There's something a little bit harsh in number 5, and I think I'm going to put 6 out of 5. But again, this is, we are really splitting hairs here in terms of, kind of picking differences between these two beers. They've all got their own merits, um, but there are some obvious problems down at this end. Pretty decent beers, number 1 and 3. Probably not beers I would necessarily pick up to drink again. Number 2 is a clear winner for me. So there we have it, in order, and I will be obviously putting the orders up in the top corner for you as I go. But number 2 is the best beer for me. I had a tight call between number 1 and number 3, but number 1 is the second best. Number 3 in third. Again, I had 6 and 5. It was a bit of a close call, but I put number 6 in fourth place. In fifth is number 5, and that leaves poor number Skunk 4 down in last place. So I don't know what I've just done. It'll be really interesting to come back and see what number 2 is, because that is actually quite a pleasant beer, like I said, that I would happily pick up a 6-pack of on a hot day and sit out in the garden and enjoy some cold ones. Let's see what order I've put these beers in. Obviously, a lot of people these beers are kind of their go-to beers. And I'd be curious to know if you guys have a preference. If you're going to pick up a Mexican lager, which one is your go-to? Is it number 2? If it's not, yeah, tell me I'm wrong. Always happy to hear what you guys say. So as ever, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave me a comment, and I will see you next time on British Guy Reviews American Beer. So cheers for now.